Hey, Sean here from SpeedCubeReview.com. I've had the WRM MagLev edition for a little over a week now, and I've done over 1,000 solves. And I want to talk about my full thoughts on it, not just an unboxing, not just a basic, here's what it is. Let's review this. So what I'm going to do is have solves that I did in the past week and just maybe cut in and out with different images or other things. And I'm just going to talk on the side like this so you can enjoy the solves and listen to me speak, or you can just turn off the screen or do something else and hear the review on its own. Now, before we begin, of course, hit like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you can be notified. There's a lot of puzzles coming out really fast, and I have a lot of things that are going to be really helpful really soon. So please stay tuned to check all of that out. So let's talk about what this is. This is the most recent WRM, the 2021 edition, with two changes. First, there's purple internals, or at least there is in mine. I love it. You can't really see it when you're moving fast, and it's a dark enough color where you don't notice it, or at least you get used to it. I have no problem seeing it, and I think it's great. It's a good way to identify the puzzle too. If I'm at a competition scrambling, you'll see, oh, that's the MagLev WRM. Awesome. Okay, the big thing with this is there are magnets for the core, or for the springs. So instead of springs, there are two magnets, and it works just the same as a spring. So if you tighten the elasticity, the magnets get pushed closer together, which means there's less room for it to move, but also that means that they're closer together and you have a stronger push between them, meaning it's going to snap together more easily. It's also going to make the cube feel a bit slower if you have it on those tighter settings. Let's talk about some benefits of having magnets in the core, which we saw just recently in the RS3M. It's going to be out in a few other puzzles, which I'm not going to name because that video's, for another puzzle, but a lot of companies are going to be going to this. So why? Well, one, you don't need to worry about springs. It's just magnets. I don't know if that's easier or not. I'm sure magnets are a little more expensive than what springs are, but just a small amount. The big one is that you don't have spring noise. Now, I haven't had spring noise in almost any puzzle for the past 5 years. And if I did, a little drop of lubrication to the end of the spring and you're good. That's it. That's all you need to do to fix it. However, you have none with this. It might be a little bit smoother. I don't think it's faster. I don't think it would be any faster because there's still contact between the magnets and the plastic pieces. There's also connection between the plastic pieces and the rod or the screws, and also plastic connection between the pieces themselves. So I don't think it's any faster. I think any idea that it is not when the puzzle's actually being used. It's just, on its own, I guess magnets are faster than springs if you're trying to spin a piece because there's a small contact, but I don't think that's a thing. So really it is that there is no spring noise and there's just less worry about that. So what's the downside? Well, the downside is it's a little bit heavier. It's not a lot. What I measured was about 4 gram difference. So a puzzle that's 76 grams normally will now be 80 grams. It's not a big difference, but it's noticeable. In the same way that a 55.5 millimeter puzzle feels a lot smaller than a 56 millimeter puzzle. It's half a millimeter, but you can tell when you're holding the puzzle. And something like 54, which is 2 millimeters difference, is unusable for some people. So that 4 gram difference can make or break if you like the puzzle. I grew up with heavier puzzles. Something like the Oolong was 90 grams and the Oolong GT was over 100 grams. Not many people used it, but that was a heavy puzzle, but no one really complained about the weight so much. With puzzles getting lighter and lighter, two things happen. One, we just get used to that, so we expect lighter puzzles. Things are in the 70 grams or even less than that. And the difference of 4 grams is greater. So the difference between, let's say, 90 grams and 94 doesn't feel as distinct as 76 and 80, or even 70 and 74. So that's going to make a big difference. I used to like heavier puzzles, but since I've been getting older, I don't know, and my hands have been hurting more, I've been liking lighter puzzles. Now, that might just be because I'm also used to them. So that's something to take into consideration. Overall, this puzzle acts like the WRM 2021, which is also very similar to the WRM 2020 and the WRM. What you get is changeable magnetic strength, 1 through 5. 1 is the strongest, 5 is the weakest. I like strong magnets, and I find 1 to be okay. I have it on 1, but I would like it to be slightly stronger. Now for the elasticity setting, which is what I'm calling the distance of the magnet or compression of the spring. You can say it's compression. I like elasticity because you get to feel how strong that elastic pull is of the pieces. It might not be exactly correct of the terminology, but I've had people tell me it's not. Some people tell me it is. Whatever. MoYu has the best setup with this. There's, I believe, 8 different settings, and it's very easy to adjust them. I've adjusted it with my fingernail. I would love it to be adjustable with just your hand and, more easily than trying to get your fingernail in there. But there's 8 settings. I believe that's more than any other company does, and you can really fine-tune how this puzzle is. So the compression that's at 8 is really, really tight. I don't even like that, and I like slower puzzles. And 1 feels really loose, so that is great. The last thing, the adjustment of the distance from the core is just used with screws. I prefer that. I've never had, actually, let me correct myself. I have had a stripped core before. And what I did was contact the retailer, and they replaced it immediately. If you have a stripped core later on, it might have been because you were trying to tighten it too much, and you can get a replacement core for really cheap, or I have a video on how to make it fit with using something as simple as a grocery bag to fix that. The issue some people have with screws is they feel it's going to have uneven tensions. I've never really had that issue, and if it's close, you can't tell a difference. With this, what you can do, you can either use the tools they give you to set the tensions with all the pieces off. I think that's unnecessary. Just tighten the screw a certain number of turns, and you can feel with your finger the depth of that screw compared to the blue plastic part that adjusts the elasticity. So you can get it fairly close, and I love having the screw because it's basically unlimited tensions. You're not stuck with just 3 or even just 5. You can really set it to how you want. I did adjust this puzzle a lot. I tried to find what worked best. I noticed I really wanted strong magnets. I adjusted the elasticity a bit, and actually I loosened the tensions from what they were out of the box, which is maybe a first for me. That is just mind-blowing. And I really like it. There's a couple things that I don't quite like about it. So overall, I love a lot about this puzzle. I like the size of it. I like the adjustment settings. There's some things I'm not quite keen on. One is I don't really care so much about the magnets for the elasticity. I like springs. I've never really had problems with it, and they work. For me, I like the lighter puzzle. So what I think would be interesting is if they just gave a set of 6 springs for this so you could change it out and try that. Probably most people wouldn't even do it, but it's just an idea. So I would probably stick with the WRM 2020 or 2021 over this one just because of the added weight that the magnets put on. I prefer it on its own with the slightly lighter weight. I think magnets for the core is going to be a big selling hype thing in the next coming months and year. And it might become standard. If it is, that's fine. I can imagine some puzzles being lighter and adding the magnets, or we just get used to it. I don't think it's going away. It's probably going to become the standard, and that works. That's completely fine. That little bit of weight is something that I do care about though, and so that's something that changes it for me. As far as how the cube performs, it's great. The cube performs great. I feel like if you are not super accurate with the puzzle, instead of cutting through and doing the move I want it to, it will sometimes lock up in that spot and then make the turn I don't mean to. So let's say if the U layer is slightly out of line, instead of it cutting through with doing an R move, it will catch and then spin a different way. That's definitely an issue with my own turning, and I'm a fairly accurate turner, but for some reason when I'm turning slightly more inaccurately or trying to turn faster, I'm getting lockups that I don't usually get. I seem to be fine in other puzzles like the RS3M, and honestly, it could just be an adjustment setting that I need to fine tune that in and find what works best for me. This is a fantastic puzzle, and it always has been. It has been since the first ever WRM, and it has been since the GTS3, because remember, the WRM is just a GTS3 without ridges. GTS3 was something I used at one of the most recent competitions I did. It's still something I enjoy using. So it's a great puzzle. And if you like the WRM and feel like you want to upgrade, go for it. If you love puzzles with purple cores, this is a must-have for you. I will keep using this puzzle for a while. I don't know if I'll use it at a competition, but it's competition worthy. It's world record worthy for sure. So thank you very much, MoYu, for sending this out. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And as always, stop by speedcubereview.com for more news and reviews.